blossom iced tea. Cherry blossom iced tea. Cherry blossom iced tea. Cherry blossom iced tea. Cherry blossom. Cherry blossom. Cherry 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 iced tea. Iced tea. Iced tea. Iced tea. Ice 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 ice. Cherry blossom iced tea. Cherry blossom iced tea. Cherry blossom iced tea. Cherry blossom iced tea. Cherry blossom. Cherry blossom. Cherry 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 iced tea. Iced tea. Iced tea. Iced tea. Ice 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 ice. Cherry blossom iced tea. Cherry blossom iced tea. Cherry blossom iced tea. Cherry blossom iced tea. Cherry blossom. Cherry blossom. Cherry 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 iced tea. Iced tea. Iced tea. Iced tea. Ice 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 ice. Cherry blossom iced tea. Cherry blossom iced tea. Cherry blossom iced tea. Cherry blossom iced tea. Cherry blossom. Cherry blossom. Cherry 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 iced tea. Iced tea. Iced tea. Iced tea. Ice 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 ice. Siap 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 siap. Yeast siap yeast siap yeast siap yeast siap. Irish 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 irish. So irish so irish. Yeast siap so irish. Yeast siap so irish. Yeast siap so irish. Yeast siap so irish. Cherry blossom iced tea. Cherry blossom iced tea. Cherry blossom iced tea. Cherry blossom iced tea. Cherry blossom. Cherry blossom. Cherry 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 iced tea. Iced tea. Iced tea. Iced tea. Ice 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 ice.
Cherry blossom iced tea. Cherry blossom iced tea. Cherry blossom iced tea. Cherry blossom iced tea. Cherry blossom. Cherry blossom. Cherry 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 iced tea. Iced tea. Iced tea. Iced tea. Ice 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 ice.
Cherry blossom iced tea. Cherry blossom iced tea. Cherry blossom iced tea. Cherry blossom iced tea. Cherry blossom. Cherry blossom. Cherry 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 iced tea. Iced tea. Iced tea. Iced tea. Ice 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 ice.
Cherry blossom iced tea. Cherry blossom iced tea. Cherry blossom iced tea. Cherry blossom iced tea. Cherry blossom. Cherry blossom. Cherry 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 iced tea. Iced tea. Iced tea. Iced tea. Ice 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 ice. Cherry blossom iced tea. Cherry blossom iced tea. Cherry blossom iced tea. Cherry blossom iced tea. Cherry blossom. Cherry blossom. Cherry 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 iced tea. Iced tea. Iced tea. Iced tea. Ice 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 ice.
Cherry blossom iced tea. Cherry blossom iced tea. Cherry blossom iced tea. Cherry blossom iced tea. Cherry blossom. Cherry blossom. Cherry 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 iced tea. Iced tea. Iced tea. Iced tea. Ice 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 ice.
Cherry blossom iced tea. Cherry blossom iced tea. Cherry blossom iced tea. Cherry blossom iced tea. Cherry blossom. Cherry blossom. Cherry 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 iced tea. Iced tea. Iced tea. Iced tea. Ice 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 ice. Cherry blossom iced tea. Cherry blossom iced tea. Cherry blossom iced tea. Cherry blossom iced tea. Cherry blossom. Cherry blossom. Cherry 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 iced tea. Iced tea. Iced tea. Iced tea. Ice 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 ice. Cherry blossom iced tea. Cherry blossom iced tea. Cherry blossom iced tea. Cherry blossom iced tea. Cherry blossom. Cherry blossom. Cherry 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 iced tea. Iced tea. Iced tea. Iced tea. Cherry ice, 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 ice. Cherry blossom